Tomorrow is election day, and there are a number of races throughout the country that are too close to call. One of them, the contest to become Atlanta's next mayor. Now, several recent polls show the former two-term Mayor Kasim Reed, who wants his old job back, is slightly behind the city council president, Felicia. But it is a 66-year-old woman who is not on the ballot who may very well prove to be his most formidable opponent. Former Mayor Kasim Reed joins us live this morning. Good morning to you, Mayor. You once told me
How you doing,
Atlanta
Sharon?
leading this
Good
city.
morning.
I'm doing well. I remember very well, though, you told me that leading Atlanta was a dream come true. One of your former constituents, though, and I want to jump right into it, Miss Bertha Darden says your administration for her was a nightmare. She was forced out of her home through the use of eminent domain by the city during your administration. And she confronted you publicly. The moment has gone viral, sir. I want to listen in.
You came out in a Winnebago to address the flood victims, to assure us that we would not have to leave our homes. And then we get sued. The code inspectors come out trying to find fault to condemn our house for your administration to come in our community to force families out of their homes by using eminent domain. And then come to find out after we went to court, they withheld evidence that we could have used to resolve it. But here we are, seniors. Where are we gonna live? Where are we gonna stay? But you told us we didn't have to move out of our home. You was working on a short-term and long-term plan. I want to know why you trying to get back in office again? To lie some more? To lie some more? Because we have heard all the lies we can from you and your administration.
Mayor, that was difficult. I watched it as it was going on. You have touted your record tackling crime in this city. Enormous economic growth, that's true too. It's been a blueprint for other major cities. But after listening to Ms. Darden's accusations, seeing her pain, it was palpable. Why
Yes.
should any voter cast a ballot for you tomorrow?
Well, first of all, I felt her pain, and that was one of the toughest moments I've had. I have not seen Mrs. Darden since I left office. But the bottom line is, it's really interesting that a Black mayor of a major American city is being attacked for investing $65 million in a community that was flooded repeatedly since the 1900s, and no one ever did anything about it. So out of 27 families, including the Darden's home, which were flooded repeatedly, tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage, lives placed at risk, I had an obligation as mayor of the city to make the best judgment to protect the lives of the people who were sitting in a floodplain. And so we invested more money, $65 million, to solve the problem. Mrs. Darden was one of three families that we couldn't come to an agreement with. The city offered 120% of the appraised value of her home, and that wasn't acceptable. And so when you're in an eminent domain process and people are in a floodplain, including the Dardens, whose home had been flooded repeatedly, it was my obligation to provide safety for the most people in the community. And they continue to
Mayor,
live in their home. And rather than just go through this moment, I've actually been working on a solution. And I'm highly confident that not when I get elected mayor, but before I get elected mayor, we're going to come up with a solution to make the Darden family whole, because I do care and had not had contact with the Darden family. In fact, people
okay.
who work with me attempted to meet with the Dardens and were unable to do so because I heard of the
Mayor, I want
difficulties
to
that
talk
they face.
specifics, though, if we can, Mayor, just for a
I'm
moment. And I
talking
do want to get to that
specifics.
solution because,
65 million,
but I want to talk.
$65
I
million,
understand that, but I want to talk about
27
the
families.
specifics of eminent domain and some of her other allegations, Mayor Reed. She says, and
Yes.
her lawyer presented it in court, that 2014 court appearance, that email written by a City of Atlanta engineer that says there was no need for this. There were several infrastructure projects already completed that could have prevented the flooding. She says that lies were told. The city lied about the potential for flooding, and I think you have to answer
Yeah.
that
And so,
too.
Sharon, if you're being fair, you know that that information was never presented to me. It never reached me. A series of recommendations were made, and we took the recommendations of the architects and engineers that were doing the project. That email came out during the course of litigation, and I had never seen it before. But it's really
Okay.
interesting that nobody else did anything about this problem. And every single person on the Atlanta City Council voted to move forward with eminent domain in this community. And eminent domain has been used repeatedly when you're dealing with issues around floodplain. And so what I'm
And
doing
that includes your
is
challenger, Felicia Moore.
rather
She voted for it as well. But Mayor,
every
let's
person,
talk then.
Andre,
Let's pivot.
hold on, Sharon.
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
came on your
Go ahead.
show. You should allow me to speak. You've been
I
speaking a
appreciate it.
lot. So Andre Dickens voted for it. Felicia Moore voted for it. We voted for it because we were trying to help a Black community that had never gotten help before. And so the email that you referenced came out during the course of litigation. That said, I'm going to find a solution to make the family whole. This issue did not reach me. When you're mayor of a major
Hmm.
American city, I had 9,000 employees and literally hundreds of active litigation matters. And so it never reached me. The people that you're talking about who were corresponding never corresponded with me and never contacted
Mayor, I
anybody
think you're
on the
right.
senior
And I
staff of my
hate
team.
interrupting you. I
Yeah.
want to, we're at the top of the hour. I want to give you a full airing here. If you'll just hang on a moment, we will let you tackle the specifics because some people say it's too late and there's nothing that can be done for Ms. Darden. But you're saying it's not. Apologies for interrupting you. We want to bring you back at the top of the hour because I think you're right. I think you're right. I did talk a lot, and we want a full airing of this. And so let's get back to Ms. Darden, that 66-year-old senior citizen who says, under your administration, the Kasim Reed administration, eminent domain forced her out of her home. She says the city lied about the potential for flooding in Peoplestown. You say that never reached your desk. The city engineer who says, hey, we can avoid the flooding, but I want to move forward. Tell us, you've touted this record, enormous growth, all of it. You're a fixer. How can you fix this for this one citizen who could be anybody's grandmother?
Well, in less than 2 hours today, I expect to announce, in partnership with two leading members of the Atlanta City Council, including the council member Carla Smith for the district where Ms. Darden led, that we're going to offer a significant financial solution to help the Dardens repair their lives and move forward. This has been a long, arduous process that's been brought to light. And what I try to do is when I see something that should be corrected, when I've made a mistake, to apologize, but not just apologize, to find a solution. And so the Dardens have been in active litigation. And I think as early as today, working in partnership with former colleagues of mine, we're going to put forth a proposal that's going to be satisfactory to all parties. So rather than talk about what needs to be done, rather than stand on the sidelines as others have done, I want to help to do what I can to make them whole so that they can move on with their lives.
Some of your opponents would say that you're generally not the most humble servant. But what we heard you do with Ms. Darden was say, I apologize and I want to help. I want to pivot to the local chapter of the NAACP. They issued this rebuke of you ahead of Election Day. The national office came in and denounced that. An apology was issued. Your opponents have pushed a theme of corruption in your administration. You were never implicated in that federal probe, but after
Not
spending
in any
eight
way.
years, not in any way, that's true. After spending 8 years in office, though, leading this city you love, do you have to own some of the negatives instead of just touting the good?
Yeah, I think you're right, Sharon. I think I certainly have to take responsibility and own it. But the fact of the matter is this election, as you know, because you live in Atlanta, is about crime and violence. It's increased
It
62%,
is.
and 157 people have been murdered. And when I led the city, I made it the safest it had been in 40 years. And I think that's what this election is going to turn on. So if I own the bad, I also get to own the 71,000 folks who moved here, the $5 billion construction sector, the 9.5 billion statewide motion picture sector, all of which occurred while I was mayor of Atlanta. And so the overall record was one of extraordinary success and the biggest economic growth that our city has seen in 40 years. And so I certainly own the negative. But with regard to the NAACP, folks never pointed out that that gentleman at the local chapter was a contributor and supporter of Andre Dickens. Somehow that escaped folks. But the national NAACP, it didn't escape them. And then the statement they put forth was just patently false on its face. So that was someone who used a local chapter of the NAACP, an organization that I'm a life member of, to launch a political attack for a friend. And so the bottom line is I take it all. In 3 of the 4 publicly available polling that has been done, the people of Atlanta have placed me in first place. And on tomorrow, we're going to have an election about the future of our city that, as you know, Sharon, because of crime and violence, is at risk of being split in two. Right? So if we
Yeah,
don't get
with
our
Buckhead
arms
threatening
around
to
crime
leave
and
Atlanta
violence,
proper.
yeah, and if Buckhead leaves, that's $235 million that the children of the Atlanta public school system won't have, Sharon. And so this
Yeah.
election is about who can do the job from day one. And I think I'm the person who is most able to do the job because I've done it before and I've done it well.
Mayor, many would say this about you. You grew into this role, one of the youngest big city mayors ever elected into office. But early on in your administration, if you'll indulge me, there was the Braves. They're back in the World Series, as you know. You were negotiating with the team early on in your administration. The Braves left for Cobb County. I asked you about that move previously during some of our sit downs. Do you still
Yeah.
believe it was the best business decision for Atlanta?
Oh, no question. Cobb County spent $400 million and raised 5 taxes so that the Braves would move to Cobb County. And the last that I checked, as recently as last night, they were still called the Atlanta Braves. And so that was the best fiscal decision for the city of Atlanta. And it was the right decision. As I said, you live in the city. Go over to the old Turner Field. It is a thriving, vibrant community. Summerhill and Pittsburgh have never been stronger. And Georgia State University, which is among the top 3 leading universities in America for educating people of color, is thriving in a way that it has never thrived before because it now has a real campus. So I absolutely am confident that we made the right call, that we didn't give tens of millions of dollars in tax incentives and tax breaks to Liberty Media. And if once again, if you blame me for the Braves moving 12 miles away to Cobb County, then you have to give me credit for Atlanta United, the soccer team, moving to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is wildly more popular in the city of Atlanta as any sports team that we have. And it's been phenomenally successful and really been an outreach to our international community in the city of Atlanta. You should go to a game and see it for yourself.
They're wild. They're wild, Mayor. And yes, Atlanta United, well, one of the leading franchises, if not the leading franchises, in Major League
Yes.
Soccer. Kasim Reed, we thank you for your candor, for sitting down with us, for answering all the questions. If you do this, Mayor, you'll make history, a third term. No matter the outcome tomorrow,
Yes.
we do hope folks get out, vote their conscience. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.